All right, EDU 304. Welcome back to Module 4. This is Station 2, focused on true and false assessment options. Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Pull out that note sheet that you should still have with you for the assessment formats. And for true and false, what I'm going to ask you to do is to read the selection given below. And I've taken this out of our textbook, or a textbook, Grading Smarter, Not Harder, and compose one true question and one false question over the material that's presented. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just read this excerpt aloud to you. And then your goal is, you would notice down here at the bottom of the slide that option one, question one, is going to be true. So just provide on your note sheet a question that could be answered by a student as true based on what we're able to gather as evidence in this excerpt. And then for question number two, whatever your question is, just make sure that the answer for that is false, okay? So let me read through this excerpt, and then you can go ahead and pause the video if you need to in order to construct your true and your false questions. It says the standard unit test in a classroom is an indicator of someone's ability at a single moment in time. As such, outcomes can be affected by variables totally unrelated to the learning targets. Sometimes these factors are self-imposed, and sometimes they lie entirely outside of students' control. Students have little control over test times and dates, for example. So if they happen to have a fight or experience some other type of emotional disruption before a test, they may end up performing poorly through no fault of their own. Negative emotional factors can be particularly consequential for students living in lower socioeconomic conditions. Okay, so based upon that text, go ahead and in example number one, provide me with a question that I could answer as a student as true. And for number two, provide me with a question based on this text that we just read together, where the answer would be false. Go ahead and pause the video and resume it once you have completed that. Okay, so you have read the excerpt provided. You have created your own true and false questions. Now for the second part of this, what I'm going to ask you to do is to consult the hot or not cheat sheet. And this is available over on the right hand side. You're able to download it from the MyUSF page. And hot stands for higher order thinking. And so you see for the different levels of Bloom's taxonomy, various verbs that a teacher could use in order to target learning at those particular levels: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Okay, so go ahead and pull that up as we move forward here to the next section of this station. When we consider true and false and other forced choice questions, we recognize that they are generally used to measure knowledge and understanding, okay, some of the lower levels of Bloom's. However, they can also be used at higher levels. Students could be provided by you, the teacher, with a set of information that's new to them. Maybe a portfolio, maybe a set of data, maybe written work of some sort, and then asked various forced choice questions related to that content, or the presence or absence of certain characteristics in the work. So if you think again about that excerpt that I provided for you, that we read together, that may or may not be new information for you, but that allows you, having that excerpt, to interact with it in a unique way, rather than me just simply asking you a question at the lowest level of knowledge or understanding for you to either reply true or false, or to guess and have a 50% shot of answering it correctly. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do for the second part of this. Using that hot or not cheat sheet that I just referred to, I'd like you to reread the excerpt from Grading Smarter, Not Harder, and focus on creating one true question as well as one false question using the verbs that are presented in the higher order thinking skills, specifically the higher levels on Bloom's taxonomy. So go ahead and revisit that excerpt, rewind the video if you need to, and what I'd like you to do is to rewrite your initial true-false questions, aiming at higher levels of analysis or synthesis rather than the lower levels of knowledge and comprehension that you most likely targeted with your first two questions. Once you're finished with that, you can go ahead and move on to station 3.